All right, first mobility test, everyone. This is the sit and reach, or active spinal flexion in this case, for the yoga, PiYo, Pilates group. Basically, this test is probably something most of your students will be familiar with from grade school. Certainly in middle school and high school is something we use regularly in our PE classes. This test will utilize, well, we have two different kinds of boxes, but even though they look different, the scales on them are exactly the same. With the blue box, we're using scale B, and on the gray boxes, we're using scale 2. So if you can remember 2 or B being the second letter of the alphabet, that will hopefully help. We'll also label the boxes just to remind you, scale 2 and scale B. This process basically looks at the mobility of someone's posterior muscles, right? So we want to look at how flexible their hamstrings, their glutes, their lower back muscles are, their back extensors, and gauge whether or not mobility is an issue for our students. So in order to conduct this test, we're going to use one sit and reach box per area, but as you can see with Michelle demonstrating in a moment here, it's a pretty quick process. With this test, it's imperative that you do it last. Make sure that you use all of the other tests that you've performed as the warm-up for this so that they're not tight. It's also important that the students aren't stretching excessively before this test. We want to get their typical mobility, not something that's been better enhanced by stretching. So the warm-up is really, the warm-up and all the other tests is all we're using. So I'll start with the blue box. Basically what we're going to have is the participant sitting against the wall so that they're at 90 degrees, all right? So you can see Michelle's spinal alignment relative to her legs is 90 degrees. We're then going to tuck the box in so that her feet rest right underneath the arm that she's going to be pushing against to get the measurement. So on both of these boxes, or on all of these boxes, the feet are going to go on this metal platform that you can see on the front here. The backside will just be open. So that's the side that, you know, nothing really happens on. Maybe you have to hold it a little bit on that side just to support it. All right, their feet are going to be just about hip width, so make sure they spread their feet apart a bit. And you also want to make sure that their heels are flat against the surface of the box. So if their feet are on here and they're not perfectly in contact with the box, make the necessary adjustment so that that's taking place. Very important that the legs stay straight during this test. Any bend of the knee would count as a no-go, a dead trial. And we want to make sure that all of the reaches and measurements that we're obtaining are conducted with straight legs, all right? Here's the quick setup for this. Once the participant's in place, they're going to take both of their fingers and overlap them so that they're perfectly superimposed. They're then going to bend forward at the waist, sliding this little metal mechanism as far out as they can. Now to do this, they're going to get 3 trials. The first trial suggests that they only need to go till they start to feel that stretch. So it's just kind of a low intensity trial. The second trial, which is going to happen immediately after, will be kind of a middle level. Move into that stretch a little bit, feel it a little bit more, and then return to the starting position. The third trial is really the one that we're recording. That involves the participants sliding this out and holding it as far as they can, while again maintaining straight legs and normal contact of the feet against the side of the box. It's also helpful to recommend that the individual take a deep breath in and exhale as they bend forward. That clearing of the lungs will allow the rib cage to roll over the top of the hips a little bit easier, and they'll get a little bit better score, all right? You'll also notice that people will generally tend to favor the left or the right side of the body on that last trial, that third trial. So it's imperative that you make it a point to tell them that their fingers need to be overlapped the entire time and that they can't reach with the left or the right hand more than the other, all right? So I'm just going to support the box so that it doesn't slide away. Michelle's going to take a deep breath in. She's going to bend forward at the hips, push this out in a slow, controlled manner. That's her first trial. I'm going to leave the slider right where it is. I'm going to have her conduct her second trial. Leave that slider right where it is, and then her third trial. All right, good. The final measurement, again, is scale B or scale 2 on the gray box. And basically, you're taking the measurement in inches. All right, so make sure you record it to the nearest quarter of an inch is fine. That same process with the silver box. is the exact same thing. The only difference is that the top part of the bench is a little bit bigger, but it's 3 trials, sliding it out in the same manner, all right? So there's really no difference other than how the boxes look. The scales and all of that are exactly the same, all right? This will take a little bit of time because you'll need to explain it to the group, and then you're only going to be able to conduct these one at a time. It's a good end of the class activity. So just, have your students line up, just ask them to be patient, just take them one at a time. Again, accuracy is key here. We want to make sure that we're facilitating the process to get the whole class measured before the class period is up, but at the same time, we're not rushing to the point that we're compromising our data, all right? Again, any questions about any of these things, please let us know over the course of the weekend. But again, just please do your best to provide an explanation to your students ahead of time, and then just follow the guidelines that we've presented here. Thank you.